Look at a map and oceans feel endless, blue, stretching to every horizon, but the heartbeat of the global economy runs through a seam so thin you could miss it at a glance. This is the Strait of Hormuz. At its narrowest, just 21 miles, 2 shipping lanes, each 2 miles wide, with a slim buffer between them. Here, inches on a chart are fortunes in the world beyond. Through this corridor moves 1/5 of the world's oil and 1/4 of its liquefied natural gas every single day. Tankers glide out of the Persian Gulf, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iraq, threading between Iran and Oman before fanning out to the planet's refineries and ports. This is not just water, it is a global pressure point. Insurance rates tick higher with every headline. Stock exchanges strain to price the risk, and gas pumps whisper the consequence to consumers. Tokyo, London, New York, quietly hinging on these tides. Here, shipping charts are as strategic as battle plans. Tension is routine. Patrol boats trail hulls the size of skyscrapers. Mines from the 1980s still echo in every convoy today. A misread signal, a seized tanker, a drone splash, any spark can ripple into panic. Imagine a blockade. A few mines, a disabled ship in the lane, a warning shot over the bow. Traffic slows, then stalls. Futures surge in minutes. Insurance triples by nightfall. Refineries from India to Europe scramble for barrels. LNG buyers bid against winter. Airlines reroute, flight plans redraw, and food prices inch up as transport costs climb. It is not just energy, it is everything energy touches. Could the world bypass it? Partly. Pipelines through Saudi Arabia and the UAE ease pressure, but they cannot replace a strait moving tens of millions of barrels per day. Naval escorts help, yet the choke point remains a choke point. To understand our century, follow the tanker's wake. Nations project power here, markets translate it into price. In this narrow seam, geography becomes destiny. The vein I'm over the Strait of Hormuz, 2 miles from global chaos. Here, mountains meet the sea and the margins are razor-thin. To the north, Iran's coastline falls like a fortress into deep water. To the south, Musandam fractures into steep, chiseled cliffs and inlets. Beyond those headlands, the UAE's shores stretch along the horizon. This isn't just a passage, it's a bottleneck shaped by tectonic force. Collision of plates raised these walls, squeezing water and ships alike. Scale is vast, but room to maneuver is not. At its tightest, the strait is about 21 miles wide, but ships don't get all 21. They are funneled into a traffic separation scheme. A 2-mile inbound lane, a 2-mile outbound lane, and a strict 2-mile buffer in between. 6 miles of order inside 21 miles of constraint. Navigation here demands intense precision. Close passes are routine. Margins are designed, not generous. Every blip is tonnage, momentum, and kinetic risk. In shallow, rocky water, a single mistake echoes far beyond these shores. Now imagine steering a supertanker through that slot. Over 1,000 feet of steel and inertia. Crosswinds shove, currents thread the channel. Screens fill with converging vectors. There is no room for guesswork here. Beneath, the Persian Gulf is relatively shallow, on average around 50 meters. Then it drops into the deeper Gulf of Oman. That change channels flow and stirs sediment. It limits where the biggest hulls can safely pass. One grounding, one collision, and tankers stack up. Costs surge, timelines slip, prices twitch. Geography sets the rules. Precision or consequences. This is the bottleneck the world cannot afford. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow throat between Iran and Oman, funneling the lifeblood of global energy. Out here the sea hums with intent. Engines push, hulls tremble, commerce moves, engines, radios, radar pings, an endless pulse of traffic threading a tight channel. From the bridge, the world is a storm of green echoes and decisions. Dozens, sometimes hundreds, share this cramped waterway. 300,000-ton tankers slide through on momentum and math. Container ships grind past, cities of steel at sea, tugs muscle giants into lanes measured in meters, nimble fishing dhows dart between wakes, reading the water like a book, all of it choreographed against currents, schedules, and nerve. Every dot is a decision, every mile a negotiation. Judgment, experience, and discipline hold the line. The heat presses like a hand on your chest, well beyond 100 degrees. Air shimmers, steel sweats, tempers steady, focus never blinks. Bearing lines, speed vectors, call signs, signals in a crowded maze, voices in Arabic, Persian, and English, 3 languages, 1 purpose, keep clear, keep moving. Coast guards verify identities. Order is a shield. Naval escorts announce transit, stitching safety through the seam. Ahead, a dhow dances over our wake. Seconds decide fortunes. To starboard, a speedboat stitches light into water and risk. Here, the rules of the road meet the rules of survival. We adjust course by degrees, then by inches. Beyond the horizon, Fujairah shoulders the heat. Winches clank, hoses couple, paperwork salts in spray. Across the water, Bandar Abbas moves cargo without pause. Timing is everything. Dusk slides in. The strait turns to glass. Red, green, white. A constellation of intent.
Hidden between Iran and Oman lies a corridor that keeps the world alive, the Strait of Hormuz. A seam of water so narrow you could miss it on a map, yet its pulse is global. At its narrowest, just 21 miles across. Through this channel moves roughly 1/5 of the world's oil and a vast share of its liquefied natural gas. To understand the modern world, you have to understand this strait. Everything you see here connects factories, lights, and lives far beyond these shores. To the north, Iran's mountains plunge into the sea, shaping a hard, constricted corridor. To the south, the Omani exclave of Musandam, cliffs, coves, and steep stone dropping straight to deep water. Inside this span, 2 narrow lanes, each 2 miles wide, are split by a strict buffer. Supertankers over 1,000 feet long steer with surgical precision. Below, the Persian Gulf shallows give way to the deeper Gulf of Oman, rock, reef, and risk. A single grounding or collision here can ripple through supply lines in hours. What happens in these waters does not stay in these waters. Traffic converges, currents shift, wind and visibility change without warning. Every marker matters. Every mile is managed. On the bridge, tension builds. The radar blooms with targets, each one a moving decision. Voices overlap on the radio in Arabic, Persian, and English. Clarity is survival. Local dhows weave between steel giants, threading centuries of tradition through modern trade. Crews refuel, resupply, and reset just outside the strait, then rejoin the flow. On shore, labor never stops. Heat shimmers past 100 degrees. Day becomes night. The ballet continues, measured, relentless, unforgiving. Every decision is weighted: speed, separation, timing, and trust. Thousands of lives synchronized to keep the arteries open. There are no holidays in the Strait of Hormuz. Roughly 21 million barrels of oil pass here each day, about 1/5 of global trade. Liquefied natural gas ships stream to power grids from Europe to Asia. From these lanes, the world's lights stay on and factories stay warm. But the system is fragile. One choke point, innumerable consequences. Disruption here would echo instantly. Prices surge, schedules snap, and supply chains seize. This is the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage with a global horizon. Before moving ahead with video, share the video and subscribe the channel. The Strait of Hormuz, where the Persian Gulf breathes into the open ocean. A narrow throat of water that concentrates the lifeblood of global energy. At its tightest, the lanes are barely 2 miles across, 2 in, 2 out. Each hull inches through a corridor drawn by caution and necessity. Iran to the north, Oman and the UAE to the south. A passage measured in miles, with consequences measured in markets. Because of its value, this place is armored by history and hardware. The northern coast is Iran's, Watchtowers and radars sweeping every mile. Missile batteries hide in coves and cliffs, hard to see, harder to strike. Fast attack boats move like a flock, hard to target, quick to hit. So how would a blockade happen? It would not require a grand fleet, just the right tools in the right place. First, the invisible move. Naval mines seeded into the tight corridors. A few dozen can silence a seaway. No captain gambles with a hull full of crude. Layer on land-based anti-ship missiles covering the approaches. Mobile batteries slide and hide along the coastline, never still, never certain. Drones spot targets, turning open sea into a sensor grid. Then small boats harass, overwhelm, and force hesitation. Mines below, missiles ashore, swarms at sea, together, enough to choke the strait. In response, a coalition patrols relentlessly to keep the lanes open. Carrier strike groups hold offshore. Destroyers pace in tight loops. Helicopters rise to scan for small silhouettes and heat. Submarines lurk, unseen but present. Maritime patrol aircraft paint the sea with radar, contact by contact. It is a chess match, signal strength versus stealth. Deterrence balanced against escalation, hour by hour. This is why the patrols never stop. Clearing mines is slow, methodical, and dangerous. Remotes first, then sweepers, then escorts, inch the lanes open ship by ship. Even a rumor of mines raises insurance, stalls tankers, and moves global prices within hours. Here the balance is a knife's edge. In the Strait of Hormuz, uncertainty is the most powerful weapon, keeping navies vigilant, captains cautious, and the world watching a few miles of water that can set the tempo of global trade. If the Strait of Hormuz closed tonight, the world would feel it before dawn. Prices would lurch upward in minutes, oil futures spiking as insurers freeze coverage. Tankers hold position like chess pieces no one dares to move. By morning, the shock would race ashore, from ports to power plants to prices at the pump. The cost of moving anything, food, medicine, everything, would climb. Markets hate surprises. This would be the ultimate one. A single bottleneck can ripple through a planet. This passage carries roughly a fifth of the world's oil and a large share of liquefied natural gas. Fuel not just for cars and planes, but for factories, power grids, and winter heat across continents. Cut that flow, and it's not just numbers on a graph. It's fewer flights, dimmer lights, and harder choices for families and governments alike. The chain is global, but the pressure point is here. Every wake is a promise of energy arriving on time. Break the promise, and the system strains. Energy systems are resilient until they're not. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles across at its narrowest, yet it looms over the global economy like a fulcrum. Are there alternatives? Yes, but they are stopgaps, not substitutes. Pipelines cross Saudi Arabia to the Red Sea. Another runs from Abu Dhabi to Fujairah, skirting the strait. Useful, but limited. Together they carry only a fraction of what passes this narrow throat each day. Rerouting adds days, risk, and cost. Storage cushions help, until they don't. I don't say this to dramatize the danger, but to measure it. As long as the world runs on oil and gas, this remains the most vital and volatile corridor on Earth. Keep the passage open, and the world hums. Close it, and everything changes. Look at it at sunset. Tankers tracing silent paths across bronze water. Engines thud beneath the waves, pushing tomorrow forward. Each hull carries more than cargo. It carries the price of tomorrow. There is simply no replacing the Strait of Hormuz. As long as the world relies on these waters, the world's balance runs through this narrow line.